Hello, in this video we'll be looking at issue 9 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, and we'll see an epic clash between the heroes of the Space Marines and the villainous Necrons. Hello, I'm Mike, and this is we are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 9 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. In this issue we get the first of a pair of sprues that will eventually be built into 10 Necron Warriors and 3 Scarab Swarms for the Necrons. And as always, if you want to see the game for this issue, there'll be a timecode in the description where you can find it through the chapter bar. We're having a quick look through the issue first. First up, we have a battle record for the Necron Warriors, so the silent legions of the Necrons carry these various glyphs, and also you can see that they actually have two varieties of weapons. So you have the Gauss Flare, which of the three we have so far have, and then the Gauss Reaper, sort of deadlier close range version. And then their battle record, you can give them their name and various things they've achieved, and they give them their own special glyph if you want to as well. And the battle record for the Canoptek Scarab, so these little autonomous drones that follow the Necrons around. You see there are various types, and now usually they are directed by the nobility, but if they aren't, they will actually revert to sort of basic programming. And once again, you can give the swarm a name and various things they do or have achieved. I have some background on the Ultramarines themselves. So the Ultramarines chapter of Space Marines are particularly gifted in the art of war, but also apparently in statesmanship and diplomacy, and this ability to negotiate with the various other factions within the Imperium has certainly served them well, and they tend to serve as leaders of Crusade forces. And you have some named examples here from Squad Sevastus. And now some background on Psykers. So these are humans or possibly aliens that have the ability to manipulate the warp, but doing so is obviously very dangerous, as you might expect. Those Psykers who gain these abilities but aren't trained to use them safely tend to cause destruction and chaos. And a lot of them fall to the worship of chaos, drawn by the promise of power, whereas others are trained by the Imperium to resist chaos corruption. And also that some alien races have Psykers amongst them as well, like this Eldari here, but also the Orcs and the Tyrannid swarm. Obviously, I haven't learned about some of those yet, but no doubt we will in the future. And then we have a short story here about Necrons fighting against Space Marines on the world of Coronar, the Necron Overlord commanding his phalanxes of Necron Warriors in battle. And now we have the build guide for the Necron Warriors. So this actually covers all of the mods we'll get. And you can see you need the sprue from this issue and the next issue, issue 10. These are technically easy to build, so you don't actually need glue. First up, we have the 3 Scarab Swarms. It's fairly simple to put them together, and they go on the 40mm base. And then you have the Warriors themselves, and it does suggest that you build 5 of each. So 5 with the Gauss Flare and 5 with the Gauss Reaper. And it also notes some of the symbology that they use in these build guides, which I think we haven't seen before. But you can see here that shows that there's 2 variants. So you can have the Flare or the Reaper, and also you have the choice of head options for each warrior. But otherwise, it's fairly simple to follow. Just make sure you have the correct arms with the correct gun, that sort of thing, because they do pair up. They go with the correct body. But other than that, once you're finished, you should have all 10 warriors and the 3 Scarab Swarms. And presumably in the next issue, we'll have the painting guide. And that's not it for this issue. We have a little fold out. So this is similar to the one we had for the Necrons a few issues ago. This goes over the organisation of Space Marine chapters. Here it talks about Rabute Gilliman writing the Codex Astartes, which goes into how the Space Marine chapters are organised, and it also covers pretty much every tactical situation. And it does note that not all of the Space Marines actually follow the Codex Astartes to the letter. Some of them simply keep it as a repository on tactical information, but some chapters, like the Ultramarines, do adhere to it very closely. Over on the left we have the structure of a chapter, so you can see a chapter master is in overall command, and then directly below him we have the Reclusium, which is the chaplains, which is a sort of religious wing of the chapter command, the Librarius, the sort of psychic arm of the chapter, the Apothecarium, where all the apothecaries are responsible for maintaining the health of the chapter and its gene seed, and then the Armory, which is the tech range, which covers all of the vehicles and equipment the companies will use. And we have the first company is comprised of veterans and is often split up to fight with the other companies. Then the 2nd to 5th company are the main battle line companies who do most of the fighting. Then 6, 7, 8 and 9 are all reserve companies. You can see there are 2 reserve battle line, and then the 8th and 9th are more specialised. And finally the scout company, which is where all the new recruits to the chapter begin their careers as Space Marines, and is often slightly larger than the other companies, is more based around reconnaissance and infiltration. And also note that each company is commanded by a captain with 2 lieutenants and then various sergeants below that. And then over on the right, it notes that a Space Marine chapter often don't all fight together. They actually tend to spread out so they can react to the Imperium's many foes. And over on the other side, we have a nice showcase of some Ultramarines models. And again, it goes over some of these battlefield roles. So we can see the vehicles there at the back. The chapter command here with Marnius Calgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines with his 2 bodyguards. And you see just next to him actually is a chaplain who would be part of the Reclusium. Librarian Tigurius, who is the head of the Librarian for the Ultramarines. You have a veteran squad here, which you can tell by their white helmets and their white trim. And the other Marines are part of the 2nd company, which you can tell by their gold trim. And also prominently here in the middle is Rabute Gilliman himself, facing off against Mortarion, who is the Primarch of the Death Guard, a legion of Chaos Space Marines. So they were once loyal Space Marines who fell to Chaos, but Imperium will teach us more about them as well. But after all that, we can finally get into our game for this issue.
Now we're into our game, Duel in the Depths. So now that the Necron Overlord of Megaria has risen from his slumber, he's joined up with the Royal Warden and he's going to try and confront the Space Marine leaders, hoping to achieve a swift victory by taking out their command structure. But the Space Marine captain has the same idea, because if he destroys the Necron Overlord, he hopes to reduce the Necrons to directionless, mindless androids. And so we've got the setup here, we're on the small board again, and we've got the Primaris Lieutenant and the Primaris Captain on points D and E respectively, then the Royal Warden and the Overlord on points A and B, so facing off from the 4 corners. And then we have our data sheets, for the most part bringing these characters up to speed with the rules we've learnt so far, but we've also got a new thing to add, which is weapon damage. And quite simply, each weapon has a damage characteristic, and so when the weapon hits, it does that amount of damage rather than just 1 damage, which is what we've been seeing so far. But just going over the profiles, the Primaris Captain and the Lieutenant have a very similar profile actually. They're both strength and toughness 4, which I don't think we knew before, and just that the Captain has 6 wounds and 5 attacks, whereas the Lieutenant has 5 wounds and 4 attacks. And we've also got both a weapon skill and a ballistic skill on their profile finally, and they both have 2+ in both of those. But that allows them to shoot their pistols and fight with their swords in the same game. So the Primaris Captain's plasma pistol is a 1-shot pistol, which has a strength of 7 and an AP of -3, and it does 1 damage. But the Primaris Lieutenant's pistol, his Neo-Volkite pistol, has a 15-inch range, it's pistol 2, so it gets 2 shots. It's strength 5, it has no AP, but it does 2 damage, so that means whenever an opponent fails their save against it, they take 2 wounds rather than 1. And they both have Mastercrafted Power Swords, which are strength user +1, so they'll be hitting at strength 5, with an AP of -3 and 2 damage. But another thing to note about the Lieutenant is he also has a Storm Shield in his abilities, as you'll see there. So what his shield does is it gives him a 4+ invulnerable save, first of all, but it also gives him +1 to his save rolls. Obviously not his invulnerable saving rolls, because as we learned, those aren't modified, but it means that if something's attacking him with a low AP that's not going to need his invulnerable save, you actually get an even better save. And then we've got the Overlord and the Royal Warden. The Overlord is the same as he was in the previous issue, although you will note his Void Scythe has a damage characteristic of 3, so it hits really hard. Royal Warden we haven't seen for a while, so we've got quite a few additions. He finally has a weapon skill of 3+, strength and toughness of 5 like the Overlord, and his Relic Gauss Blaster has a 30-inch range, rapid fire 2, it's strength 5, it has an AP of -2, and it does 2 damage. And there's just a reminder here of the wound roll table. Oh, and the sequence that models fight in close combat. There's also a profile for generic close combat weapons here, which, as you'll note, the Royal Warden didn't actually have a melee weapon, so he fights with this because he doesn't have anything else, which is just hitting at his strength with no AP and only doing 1 damage. And going forward, basically anything that doesn't have a listed melee weapon fights using that profile. And then we have our playthrough example, and I won't go over this because we've seen all of this before. The only thing that it does note here is the extra damage, so it just highlights that here when the Royal Warden is shooting. And likewise over the page, the Captain loses 3 wounds from the Void Scythe when he fails his save against it. Then back to the Space Marine turn and continuing in the same vein. And then, as it says in How to Win the Game, we continue until one player has no models left, and that player is the loser. So fairly straightforward, all of that. So we'll set up the board and get into the game. And here we are with our setup. Got the Necron Overlord bottom right and the Royal Warden top right, Space Marine Captain bottom left and the Lieutenant in the top left. And the Necrons get to go first, so we'll start by moving the Overlord up 6 inches to there. And then the Royal Warden is going to move over here. So he moves 6 inches to there, and now that we know that his weapon has a 30-inch range, his range for shooting twice with his rapid fire weapon is 15 inches, and that's obviously going to be in range if he stands pretty much anywhere on this board, so he doesn't need to get closer. And then he will indeed shoot, and we're going to shoot at the Primaris Captain, I think, because he's a little bit more dangerous. So we've got 4 attacks that hit on 3s, and we've got 3 hits, and he's wounded on 3s because his gun is strength 5, and the Captain is toughness 4. Only 1 wound.
4+ invulnerable save for the Captain.
Yep.
Which failed, so he takes 2 damage.
Yep.
He's down to 4 wounds.
Because it's a 2 damage weapon, so that's the new thing. Rather than taking 1 wound, he takes 2. Then we're on to the charge phase, and the Overlord will declare a charge against the Captain. Looks like he's going to need about a 5 or a 6, so we'll see what we roll. We've got a 6, I think that should be good. 6 is pretty much exactly the distance, so we'll just stand there. And as we learned in the last game, chargers fight first in the fight phase, so we've got 4 attacks hitting on 3s with the Overlord. Oh, 2 misses. These wound on 2s, because strength 10 versus toughness 4. So 2 wounds, AP -4, but he has got his invulnerable save.
Yeah, so 2 4+ invulnerable saves. Need to make both of these to live. Oh, made both.
So he's fine, which is good, because he would have taken 3 damage per hit if he hadn't done that.
Yeah. Captain gets to strike back now, so he has 5 attacks that hit on 2s. Oof, so that's 5 hits. Wounding on 4s, because he is strength 4+1, which is 5, and the Overlord is toughness 5. Getting 4 wounds and AP -3.
So the Overlord has a 6+ save, and remember these are now 2 damage with the Mastercrafted Power Sword. Oh, he's failed all of them, so he actually takes 8 wounds, but he's only got 5, so he dies.
So, onto the Space Marine turn. The Lieutenant's just going to move 6 inches towards the Royal Warden, as is the Captain, because the Royal Warden is very much not a threat in melee compared to the Overlord, and he's got a very dangerous gun though, so tying him up is a very good idea. But before that we get to shoot him with our pistols, so I'll do the Captain first. Has a single shot with this plasma pistol, hitting on a 2, be a hit. Wounding on a 3, because strength 7 versus toughness 5, it wounded.
It has an AP of -3, so I take a 6+ save, because I have a 3+. Nope. Yeah, the plasma pistol has damage of 1, so he does only take 1 wound.
And then the Lieutenant will shoot with his Neo-Volkite pistol, which has 2 shots hitting on 2s. Getting a single hit. Wounding on 4s, because it's strength 5, it's toughness 5, it wounded. No AP though, so 3+ save.
No, failed that, and he takes 2 damage, because the Neo-Volkite pistol has 2 damage.
So he's down to 1 wound. Then it's on to the charge phase, where we'll do the Captain first. And he has 10, which is easy enough. He'll go slightly to the side, just to make the Lieutenant's life as easy as possible. And the Lieutenant, going to need a 5 to get within an inch of the Royal Warden. And he gets 6, that's enough as well. So I'm going to do the Lieutenant first. Let's see if he can get a kill. And since I can choose either of my units to go first.
Yep, they both charge, so they both get to fight before the Royal Warden.
Yeah, so we got 4 attacks from the Lieutenant, hitting on 2s, getting 3 hits, wounding on 4s, getting a single wound.
But it has an AP of -3, and a fail.
2 damage to the Royal Warden.
So he dies. So quite a convincing Space Marine victory in that first game. As usual, we'll do a best of 3 for this game to see who can take the victory overall. So we'll set up again and come back. Set up for round 2. Necrons get to go first again. Hopefully can have a slightly better first turn. We'll follow the same procedure, I think. The Overlord will move up, try and take out the Captain first because he's the most dangerous. Royal Warden will stay even further back this time though. But we will shoot the Captain again with him. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. Going 2 hits, and wounding on 3s. Getting 2.
2 4+ invulnerable saves. Made 1, failed 1. So down to 4 wounds again.
And then the Overlord will charge, and once again he will need about a 6. He gets a 6, exactly as happened in the previous game. And it's trying to do a bit better with our 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. Oh, 2 misses again. Wounding on 2s, getting 2.
2 4+ invulnerable saves. Made 1, failed 1, so the Captain takes 3 damage and is down to 1 wound. But he now gets to fight back. He has 5 attacks hitting on 2s, getting 4 hits. Wounding on 4s, only getting 2 this time.
So he can't kill the Overlord in 1 hit this time, so 2 6+ saves. No, it still made neither, so the Overlord's down to 1 wound. Because he has 5 to start with, and those are both 2 damage. And then we're on to the Space Marine turn.
Yep. So the Lieutenant's going to move 6 inches towards the Royal Warden, while the Captain's going to stay in combat. And the shooting phase will do the Lieutenant first. He's going to fire his pistol at the Royal Warden because he's the only target. 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, getting 1 wound.
3+ save against this gun. Failed, down to 2 wounds remaining.
And then the Captain will fire his plasma pistol at the Overlord.
Yep, because you can shoot with a pistol in engagement range.
At targets you're engaged with, so a single shot hitting on a 2. Oh, he missed. In that case, the Lieutenant is going to charge. He gets an 11, but he's actually going to charge the Overlord. See if we can save the Captain.
Yes, because the Lieutenant gets to fight before the Overlord, who would otherwise get to hit the Captain first.
So 4 attacks from the Lieutenant, hitting on 2s. 4 hits. Wounding on 4s, only getting 1.
But I need a 6 to save. Nope. So the Overlord is killed. So we're back to the Necron turn.
The Royal Warden regains a wound due to living metal.
Yes, so he's back up to 3. He's going to run back into his corner. And then he will shoot. He is within 15 inches of the Captain. He's got 1 wound left. Oh, they all hit on 3s, and they wound on 3s as well. They all wound, so he has to pass all 4 of his saves.
4 plus invulnerable saves. Oh, he made 3. But now that last one is enough to kill the Captain. And so the Lieutenant's going to have to finish the job on his own. Move 6 inches towards the Royal Warden. And shoot him with our Neo Volkite pistol. 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds.
2 3+ saves. I failed both that. So the Royal Warden takes 4 wounds and dies. And that'll be another Space Marine victory, although I am pretty confident even if that hadn't happened, the Lieutenant probably would have finished him off in melee anyway. So the Space Marines definitely win the best of 3 and are the victors for this episode. But I'll set it up again and let the Space Marines go first just to see what happens when we do that. So we'll set up again, but as we said, we'll let the Space Marines go first this time.
Right, so I think we're going to go after the Overlord since he is the most dangerous. So we're just going to move towards him 6 inches. I'll do the Captain first with his shooting, since he only does 1 damage in total. So he's got a single plasma pistol shot at the Overlord, hitting on a 2, he hit. Wounding on a 3, he did not wound. And then the Lieutenant with his Volkite pistol, 2 shots on 2s, oh, double 1. So we're going to have to do some charging. We'll do the Lieutenant first, and his charge, is a 10, that's easy enough. So he's going to just go into the like that. And then the Captain will charge, so he's going to need about a 6, he gets a 10 as well. So they can both get in. So I'll do the Captain first, 5 attacks hitting on 2s, getting 5 hits, and wounding on 4s, getting 2.
2 6+ saves, double 1, so 4 damage from the 2 wound sword.
Down to 1 wound. And then the Lieutenant has 4 attacks hitting on 2s, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 4s, getting 2 wounds as well.
And, made 1 6, but not enough to save the Overlord. So the Royal Warden gets to go, and I guess he's going to run away. Moving 6 inches to over there, and then he will shoot. Probably doesn't really matter, but we'll go for the Captain. So hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 3s as well, getting 3 wounds.
4+ saves. Failed them all, so that's 6 damage, which is enough to kill the Captain.
Oh, okay, alright. But then that's the end of the Royal Warden's turn. He's not going to charge the Lieutenant because that would be suicide.
So, the Lieutenant's going to try and exact some revenge. We're going to move so that we're an inch away. Going to shoot the Royal Warden with our Neo Volkite pistol, try and hit this time. He reloaded it apparently, got 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, all 2 wounds.
Can I make some 3+ saves? I can make 1, but he's still down to 2 wounds.
And then the Lieutenant will charge. Doesn't matter what I roll, an 8 is definitely enough. And then 4 attacks from the Lieutenant, hitting on 2s, getting 4 hits. And wounding on 4s, getting 1 wound.
Oh, so if I make my 6+ save... Oh, I did!
Hey! He gets to fight back.
He does. He has 3 attacks that hit on 3s. He has a weapon skill we finally get to use. Yeah. Well, 2 of them hit, and he has a strength of 5, so he's wounding on 3s. Oh, they both wounded. But it has no AP because, as we saw, he doesn't have an interesting melee weapon, just his fists.
Yeah, or his bayonet thing. So the Lieutenant actually has a 2+ save because he has a 3+ save normally, but I get +1 to my rolls.
Thanks to the Storm Shield.
Yep, and I would have made them both anyway. And then it's the Necron turn. Just 3 wounds.
He does regain a wound. I don't think there's any point falling back because I won't be able to shoot, and then the Lieutenant will get to shoot and charge me. Giving him a free round of attacks is probably irrelevant at this point. But because nobody charged, the Space Marines get to pick up first in the fight phase. But they would be fighting first if they charged anyway in the next round. So
so 4 attacks from the Lieutenant, hitting on 2s. 3 hits, wounding on 4s, getting 2.
2 6+ saves. Nah, I failed both. So unfortunately, kills off the Royal Warden. And yeah, definitely proof that the Space Marines had the upper hand in this game, I think. So that'll be it for the games for this issue, so we'll recap all of that for you now. So those were the games for issue 9 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think those went?
I think it probably actually went slightly better for me than I expected. Would have expected the Overlord, if he's going first, to actually kill the captain, I think. He only needs to get 2 wounds through, and a 4+ invulnerable save is good, but still only a 50% chance.
Yes. The Overlord's Void Scythe, I think, is the most dangerous melee weapon on the battlefield. The ×2 strength and the 3 damage does mean he can, in theory, do a lot of damage, but the 2 Space Marines with their Mastercrafted Power Swords, well, those are still pretty good. And apart from the one time where he shot the captain dead in one shot, the Royal Warden's shooting wasn't that impressive either, so that, and in the first game, the captain getting 5 wounds on the Overlord, who then...
Yeah,
four wounds in it, and he failed all his saves, and so he took 8 wounds. That's also relatively unlikely.
Yeah, only wounded on 4s. I think I do roll pretty well. I would expect to hit a lot, but not get that many wounds. If the Necrons managed to kill one of the Space Marines in the first turn, then they probably got it in the bag.
But by the same token, I think if the Space Marines kill the Overlord, they pretty much got it in the bag. Yep. Even with one character left, unless the Royal Warden gets extremely lucky, he can't beat either of these two.
For the Necrons, you would need to keep the Royal Warden out of melee. I think if this game would tell you anything, is that the Royal Warden shouldn't be in melee ever. They got Volkite pistol to death, I think, at one point. That's pretty unlikely. But once he's in melee, he can't really use his gun at all, and he's not going to outfight either of these 2 characters in melee. And I think we mentioned in the previous issue where we first got the Overlord, but he should actually have a 4+ invulnerable save, which I think would have actually saved him at a couple of points in these games. But the Royal Warden doesn't have that.
And we pretty much have the full characteristics, at least, for all these models and their weapons. We don't have all their special rules yet. All of these 4 buff the troops around them in specific ways, but in terms of their actual fighting ability, I think this is pretty much it for all 4 of these. Yeah. So we have their weapons and ballistic skill and their strength and toughness and attacks and everything for all of them now.
And that datasheet layout that's the standard datasheet layout for everything. So it is kind of nice to have that. I think actually earlier then we started getting them in Mortal Realms and Conquest.
Yeah, and becoming familiar with that layout is useful, because then it means you can quite quickly pick up what any given unit can do when you see its datasheet. And we probably should talk about the models we got with this issue, even though we haven't seen them yet, because we're still waiting for the second half and the next issue. They give you the complete build instructions for the Necron Warriors in this issue, which we'll be using again when we get the rest of them. It's interesting that they tell you to make half and half with the 2 different weapon options. You can do that in a squad, you can mix and match the weapons. I'm not sure many people would do that.
Once you see the data sheet, you might wonder why they do that, and we will get some more Necron Warriors later in the magazine, so hopefully then they'll make you another 5 and 5, and then you could just have 2 squads of 10, one of each type of weapon. Yeah. And it's also worth pointing out that getting this issue and the next issue is actually a pretty good saving on getting Necron Warriors, the actual box. So I think it's something like £29.50, so you're getting it for $18 instead.
But otherwise, I don't think there's anything much more to be said for this issue. So if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. If you've played this game, let us know how you got on, who had the advantage in your games. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.